So welcome everyone to make sure you're in the right place because there's a couple of different things going on this week that the Graduate Admissions Office is hosting. You're at Loyola Marymount University's virtual open house for their art therapy program. So we're the Marital and Family Therapy art therapy program. My name is Ginya Young. I'm the current program director for the program. If you've been emailing us, it's possible that we may have already been in communication via email, or will be in the future, I hope, if you choose to pursue an application here. We also are fortunate to have with us Marissa Barajas. She's gonna give a little wave. She is one of our graduate assistants, which we'll talk about that too, and is also one of our current students enrolled in the program. So she is going to be assisting us tonight. And as I mentioned earlier, we may have one or two people from the graduate division coming in and out to just check in. They're monitoring and assisting with a couple of programs going on this evening. And that would be Emily and Addis. So they may introduce themselves later, perhaps. So how the evening is going to go is I'm going to do a presentation, just an overview of our program. I'm going to go into the particulars, what the schedule look like, what you'll get out of the program. I will also go over the admission process and requirements as well, introduce you to our faculty, and then we will leave time at the end for questions. There's some additional information and videos that I won't play during the presentation, but at some point, Marissa may add that to the chat, maybe later on after we see, how many people have joined us so everyone gets it, that you can click on for more information. If you don't get your questions answered tonight, please reach out to us. Some questions may go directly to graduate admissions where you would actually submit your application. You do not submit it directly to our department. And some questions may be specific to our program, and we will also provide an email that you can use for more specific questions as well too this evening. Okay.
And I'll be monitoring the chat. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask there. I'll do my best to answer. And if I don't get to you, I would recommend to ask Genya at the end of the presentation.
Yes, and I see a question right now about viewing a recording. So yes, so the recording will be made available for viewing. It'll be edited and posted, I believe, via YouTube, but we can confirm that as well too. So you will be able to see this video again. If there's anything you missed, or if there's someone else that would have liked to be here, and couldn't, they will have an opportunity to also get this information. So we will save it for that. During the presentation, which I'm about to start, I'm going to show you some slides to make sure I can go through all the information. I may not be able to see you while I'm doing that, so go ahead and type your questions in the chat. If there's a question that seems like really pertinent to ask at that moment, Marissa will let me know. Oh yes, I see a link to the recording from open house will be sent to you. Oh, via email. Oh, better. Okay, so everyone will actually get a link to the recording via email. So you will have it. You won't have to look for it. That's even better. So again, if you have questions, put them in the chat. I mean, there will be a question and answer portion at the end where you can ask me directly. There may be some things that Marissa will be able to answer in the chat for everyone. But if there's other questions that you need me to pause, she will let me know that. She'll try to look at, if there's like a number of questions about one particular thing and it makes more sense to answer it at that time, we will. If not, we'll make sure it gets answered at the end. Okay. So let's see what this whole thing is about. And again, thank you for being here. Okay. Is everyone able to view? Are you able to see that? Okay, perfect. So I'm going to move on. Go. All right. So first, I'd like to introduce you to our dean, Bryant Keith Alexander. So our program, it's important to know this, we're part of the College of Communication and Fine Arts. If you've been looking at different programs, art therapy programs, you also want to pay attention to where those programs are housed, because it makes a difference. The institutions that you're attached to in terms of like program philosophy, in terms of resources and things like that. So we're part of the College of Communication and Fine Arts at LMU. And why that's important because it's a reminder that we really put an emphasis in our courses on the art in all courses. We're an integrated program of marital and family therapy and art therapy, but because of our connection to communication and fine arts, we do make sure that the arts part is integrated throughout. Also, people often ask, or potential applicants will ask, what sets your program apart from other programs? And part of it is when I introduce our dean, we do have a dean of programs who is an advocate for our program, is very supportive of our program, is very visible, and that makes a difference for wherever you choose to study to have that support. So we're lucky to have him. And like I said, he's also very visible. We also have a relationship to the other arts facilities on campus through CFA, meaning the art studios, through the galleries. We have an annual student art show that's done in collaboration with the galleries on campus. And we also have graduate assistantships that are available to our students in the different art studios. Just so you understand that connection as well. Okay. All right. Now, I'm introducing you to our founder of our program, or one of our founders, Helen B. Landgarten. She's also the person that our clinic is named after. Helen is no longer with us, but she was the one that introduced clinical art therapy. And she was the one who really made a push for having art therapy as a primary modality in mental health. And so because of her and others' work, we have the program that we have today. And then we're talking about art therapy, but what is art therapy? And it's important to go through it because each of us have a different experience with art therapy or a curiosity that may have brought us here today. But it doesn't mean we always have a full understanding of it. And out in the art therapy profession and field, you may hear different responses to this question as well. So I want to explain like how we talk about art therapy and what it is when you're coming into an art therapy program here at LMU. So first of all, art therapy is a service that's provided to all humans across the lifespan, so all ages, in all places. We work in many different places as art therapists, from private practice to hospitals to community mental health agencies, residential programs, senior centers, schools. Anywhere you find humans, you can find art therapists working. And art therapy itself is an integration of counseling techniques, the studies of human development, psychotherapy, art media, and the creative process. And we combine all these things in our work with people working on different problems. Now, here you'll get trained to do clinical art therapy, meaning you're working with people that may have a mental health diagnosis. But art therapy is used for all kinds of things. It could be used to improve pain reduction when we talk about medical art therapy, stress, self-esteem, self-awareness, building resilience. It could also be included to build new social skills, problem solving, conflict resolution. We have art therapy services used in many different ways and in many different places. And what we call art therapy is also a profession. So it's not just what we do, there's also the art therapy as a profession. And here we have this quote, art therapy is a time to draw what's on my mind by a 9-year-old client, right? Who mentioned that. But again, it's just a reminder that art therapy isn't just something that we use with children. It can be used with people, or people can engage with it that are at any and every stage of life. So again, we're talking about, and Marissa, just want to double check. Can you see the whole slide there? Or,
Yes.
okay, I have a different view, so I just want to check and make sure everyone can see the text. So again, I mentioned we have an integrated program for marital family therapy and art therapy. This is also important because again, if you're investigating different art therapy programs, everyone does it different. So here we don't have a separate marital and family track and then a separate art therapy track. Our classes are all integrated and all the classes meet both the requirements of the art therapy credentialing board, and that's where you get your art therapy registration. And it also meets the requirements of the Board of Behavioral Sciences in California, and that's for your MFT. So you would be qualified at this point when you graduate from this program to then pursue your direct client hours is what they call. So you still have to do more hours after you have your degree to make you then eligible to apply for a license in marriage and family therapy or for what we call a registration in art therapy. The other thing I want to mention here is very important, especially if you're going to be thinking about enrolling in this program from another state, or even if you're from this state and want to be in the program, but you're thinking about moving and practicing somewhere else afterwards, which you want to take under consideration as well, is that this program qualifies you for a license in California only. So for the marriage and family therapy, this is a state-specific program for a license in California as an MFT. If you plan to move somewhere else, you want to go to their own oversight boards and check and make sure that the credits in the class would transfer to those other states or what are the requirements of those other states. As far as the art therapy registration, or what we call an ATR, that we don't that goes from state to state. So here you can work here as an ATR, you might be able to work in another state as an ATR, but there are some states where there's a standalone license in art therapy as well. So you want to check in the different states' requirements and what their titles are always, no matter what program you choose. And if you have more questions about that, I can circle back around that as well too. All right, so here you have an image of our suites, our beautiful suites in the wonderful University Hall, where we have trees in our indoor corridor, if you can believe it or not, if you haven't been here to visit. We're a very small, intimate program, which is nice too. So our classes are nearby, our faculty's offices are all nearby and accessible. And here you also see an image of our Helen B. Landgarten Art Therapy Clinic. Even though you see the sign in there for a clinic, and I'll talk about this a little bit later too when we go back to this, is our clinic is out in the community, we like to say. So even though we have a space here, the clinic, we don't have clients or people coming to the clinic for services. Our clinic is actually wherever the need is, and that's where we send our students and faculty to work. So we want to keep that kind of in mind when we talk about the clinic. But our classes, the faculty are all in one space in University Hall. Okay. So the other thing that sets our LMU Art Therapy program apart from other programs is our faculty. We are very privileged to have an esteemed group of professors here who do a lot, who are very well recognized for their research, for their clinical work, for their leadership in both our local Art Therapy Association, SoCal-ATA, and our National Art Therapy Association, the American Art Therapy Association, meaning they're on their boards and have other leadership positions. They're very involved in the community in their own personal work as well. And we have all those people here, all those different connections, and that doesn't happen everywhere. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about them as well. First, we have Dr. Lavinia Jackson, who is our department chair and also an associate professor. Dr. Lavinia's she works on a lot of different things, but the one thing I want to highlight is her research in cultural humility in the practice of art therapy, and has written a book on that. Her research in her book is quoted by many other therapists and clinicians in the field and in their work. And it's also the foundational model for our program here as well. And you'll see that reflected in our course design and in our field work. So we're, again, fortunate to have Dr. Jackson here, not only as our professor, but as the department of our chair. And then you've met me, program director. It's a new position here for me this year, but I'm also a graduate of this program. So it means a lot to me as well. And just a little bit about myself as well. I've also involved in our other art therapy associations in different leadership positions and continue to maintain a private practice outside of LMU as well, do supervision in art therapy, and also teach a few classes. Then we have Dr. Jessica Bianchi. In addition to art therapy, she also comes to us with a background in educational leadership and social justice. So we get all these different experiences and points of view in the department. So she comes to us with that lens. And she looks at how art therapy enhances educational systems and other community-based spaces. And that's why she's also the director of our Helen B. Langarten Art Therapy Clinic. So if you have any questions about that, she would be the one to answer those. And is ever expanding our reach in the community and throughout the university as well, again, which I'll talk about later when we get to that, through the clinic. And then we have Dr. Joyce Yip-Green, who is assistant professor in our program and also the director of the Art Therapy Research Institute. So that's something else we have as part of our program, is an emphasis on research, because I know a lot of people have interest in that. And whether or not you have an interest in pursuing research personally beyond your degree here, or you just want to have some experience in it, you'll get to do both and you'll get support in both. And again, we'll talk about that some more too, about our research institute, but she oversees, we have our own journal. We're having an art therapy research symposium that happens annually as well, that she runs and directs. She also coordinates our faculty talks that are on campus. And one that's coming up, I believe actually this week, is talking about different pathways to a doctoral degree in art therapy. So she's has her hands on a lot of different things, as well as far as that program. And the other thing that's really important, and we'll talk about this later as well, she's also in charge of our international program in Mexico, in case you weren't aware that we have that. So we do have a summer program in Mexico where we work with other art therapists there, and do some training and offer courses, and she coordinates that as well for us. And then we have Dr. Marusa Riccio Joyner, is clinical assistant professor, and she and Dr. Green both also have, in addition to art therapy, they have their PhDs in international psychology. So they bring that sort of looking at the global view of art therapy into our program as well. And also, in addition to maintaining a private practice, which is really important to our faculty as well, Dr. Joyner also does a lot of research in grief and loss. And she's also teaches our suicide prevention program and does some community work and prevention work there with our students too. Then we have Kathleen Fogel-Richmond, our practicum coordinator. And I'm going to pause here for a moment, and again, we'll go back to that. So when I say practicum coordinator, what I mean is our internships, our field experience that our students engage in before they graduate and begin to collect hours towards their licensure or registration that happens in the program. And you will get 2 of them, one in your first year in the program and one in the second. But this is another reason or another thing that sets our program apart from other art therapy programs. We're probably one of the few programs that has a full-time practicum coordinator that manages all these things. Typically, when you're in other counseling programs, you will have to find your own internship or your own field experience. And that can be very difficult. Here, those things are coordinated for you. We have a wide variety of placements as well, because we have someone in this position. So you get to have a variety of different experiences. So you want to remember that as well when you're looking at programs. It's something that's very unique to us and that we're very proud of. And then here, a little flower is where we would have our senior administrative coordinator. So those of you who have been in contact with us in the past, your first contact was probably our senior administrative coordinator, Lori Gloyd. She has since retired. We're very happy for her. She had 40+ years with us, which says a lot about our program too. I mean, the people who work, they stay and try to give back in different ways. We have a very strong alumni here as well. But so we have an interim person at the moment and currently in the process of finding our new senior coordinator. All right. So now I'm going to go into the actual program. Are there any like burning questions before I move on, Marissa, or can we kind of keep going?
As of right now, you're okay.
Okay, good. So I also want to make sure I get everyone out on time. So I'm going to go into what the courses actually look like for each semester. So you have an overview of what that looks like. Mind you, everything that I'm sharing with you, particularly in these next set of slides, is all on our website. If you want to know the schedule of classes, like what will I be taking the first semester, second semester, the first year, second year, what are the summer classes? All of those things are listed on our website in detail. So you can go back and look at that and get a feel for what you're going to be doing. We do have 2 tracks. One is the 2-year track. It's really 2 years and a summer. So you do go through the summer as well, taking classes, not as many, but you take a few. And then we have the 3-year track, which I'm also going to show you. 3-year track is sometimes what we may refer to as part-time, but I do want to say to everyone, part-time may not always feel like part-time. What it is that we've taken the 60 units that you're required to complete this program and just spread them out across 3 years for you. And that's a benefit to some who may have family or other responsibilities or full-time work or part-time work. And so they can't be in the program. The 2-year track is too much. And sometimes some people prefer to do the 3-year track just because it just feels more manageable, the flow of the classes. Once I show you, it is an intense number of classes that you're taking. So you want to know that going into it. And that's not the best way everyone learns. So sometimes they prefer to do the 3-year track. So here we go. So in the first semester of your first year, your classes are only on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. You'll see here that the classes are about, there's some art experientials and art making classes. You usually do some type of art experientials in all the classes, no matter what is integrated in some way, but you'll see an art therapy studio course, introduction to mental health services, art therapy literature and research. Then you begin to get the fundamentals of marriage and family therapy systems and law and ethics. This is when you start your child art therapy classes. You do the psychopathology and psychopharmacology, testing, and group psychotherapy. So you can see there, you're taking 8 classes in your first semester. And also a part of our lab, a lot of our courses is there's some type of fieldwork experience. So here's an example of one. We've had a very long-standing relationship with the Dolores Mission School in Boyle Heights. So it's in the greater Los Angeles area. That's part of our child psychotherapy class. And so we have our students will go there and do some observations of children in the spaces where they learn, you know, so we don't always get a chance to do that. But it's like, let's see the people that we could potentially be working with in the places where they live and work and do school, and also do some artwork there with them. And then now we're going to go into the first year, second semester. So what's significant about the second semester is that's when, if you're on the 2-year track, you start your first practicum. So that's your field experience, or what you may otherwise know as a type of internship. So we put you out there the first year in the program. You get all those foundations, and then we want you to actually have an opportunity to apply all these theories in the real world. And you get a chance to do that in your second semester. And you're very supported in that. I'll go through that too. You'll have like an art therapy supervisor. You'll have a clinical supervisor that's on site to support you with that. And that's about 16 hours per week, up to 16 hours per week that you work. And all these hours you get credit for, because there's a certain number of direct client hours that you have to complete before you graduate. So all of these count. And right here, you see theories of marriage and family therapy. Here's when we go into adolescent art psychotherapy, telehealth and contemporary practice. One of our newer classes, art-based exploration of diversity, equity, and inclusion in clinical treatment. We're also really proud of that too. That's a newer course. And that's more talking about our identity also as social activists, as art therapists, is where that comes in. So it's thinking about art therapy, our role in activism. And then here we also see we have trauma theory treatment and suicide assessment and prevention. So you start to see the build-up of the coursework and how it begins to evolve. Okay. Again, here's another community fieldwork experience that you would have as part of your class. And this is part of the adolescent psychotherapy course. So students who are enrolled do visits to the Central Juvenile Hall. Actually, that just happened for our students this past week. They also go to work with students at 2 high schools, the Verabunde High School and Augustus Hawkins High School. And these are just one day for a few hour visits that they do. So here's where I was talking about earlier is your first practicum. So again, it's about for 15 weeks, 16 hours, up to 16 hours a week that you'd be working. Our practicums, most of the first year practicums now are school-based, but not all of them. We have our first year students now working through the Helen B. Landgarten Clinic, is who their employer would be. And so the first practicum for this semester is really just focused on short-term treatment, because you only have 15 weeks at most with your client. So we're looking at, what does short-term treatment look like? And again, you'd have an on-site MFT clinical supervisor, but you'd also have an art therapy supervisor who's off-site and you would meet with on campus. Okay, so this is one of the videos that tells you more about our clinical training and practicum experience. For sake of time, I'm not going to play it here, but Marissa will share that clip in the chat so you can watch that on your own time. And it's also available on YouTube. Okay, So now we're up to our first summer session. So the first summer after the first year of classes, and our summer sessions are brief. So our summer courses are about 2 weeks, and they were instituted in order to make sure that we also cover some of the classes that are required for licensure. So I mentioned earlier the Board of Behavioral Sciences. Every few years, sometimes the requirements for marriage and family therapists changes, and they add new courses or education that therapists need to have. And so whenever we can, we try to integrate that coursework into the program, so you already have it before you graduate. And this is how some of our summer session courses came to be. So for example, you get over the summer a class in drug, alcohol, and addiction recovery treatments. There's also aging and long-term care class. And combined with the aging and long-term care class, there's also a fieldwork experience associated with that over the summer. And then here's another thing that sets us apart from other art therapy programs. We have an international studies program over the summer in Mexico. This is another long collaboration that has been built over a long time, a long relationship that we've had in San Miguel de Allende. And so you do your coursework there over a 2-week period. There's multiculturalism in art therapy, there's family art therapy, and we work in conjunction with an art therapy program and therapists in that program in Mexico. So we're taking these courses together and doing interdisciplinary and intercultural training there. And then there's also a structured community outreach or engagement part as well as part of that program. This is optional. And it kind of is included in the tuition part to participate in this. You're just responsible for your food and airfare and things like that. But this is counted as a course that you do get credit for. But it is optional. It's not one of the required courses. All right. So now we are into the second year of the 2-year program. So it's the second year, now the third semester, we're back to the fall. So if you're following kind of like the course of study, now we're going back into cultural considerations in art psychotherapy. So now you've already had some experience out in the field. And so you get to have a little bit more context for the things that you're learning in the classroom and can really apply them to your clinical work, or bring your clinical work into the classroom and see the applications and start to make some connections. This is also when you start your research study. So the research experience in our program right now, you would be part of a group research project that's supervised by a faculty member. So it's more of like you work a little bit more independently than lecture style in that classroom. You'll also see that by the second year, you're only taking classes. This is if you're in the 2-year program on Tuesdays. And that's because the rest of the week you actually are in your second practicum experience. So in the second year, you're at your site for the full school year. So for fall and spring semester, you're in the same practicum experience. And this will be for 20 hours a week. And so this time too, in this practicum, we're looking more at long-term care. So you get to see the beginning, middle, and end phase of treatment, unlike with your first practicum that's much shorter. And so here again, you see it's a 30-week program because it's for the fall and spring semester. You're working about 20 hours per week. Again, you could be working with any population, family, couples, children, adolescents, adults, older adults, long-term treatment. And again, we provide for you, we make sure you have a clinical supervisor to sign off on your hours, but for your MFT hours, but also an art therapy supervisor as well. And this is a picture, I think, of one of the placements we've had, the Venice Family Clinic. So here's a map. Don't expect you to be able to read this, but and actually we could add to this. I don't even think this is the most updated one. We have many more placements than this since this was published. But this shows you all the different areas up and down the Southern California coast, and different types of placements that we have. Like I said, we're in hospitals, community mental health agencies, schools, senior centers, other types of cold care and rehabilitation centers as well, working with veterans. So there's many varieties of placements. And we do our best to sometimes match you up with your interests, but we also encourage you to try other things as well. Okay, now if you're in the 2-year program, we're almost near the end. So in your 2nd year, 4th semester of the program. Yep, go back here. So again, classes are only on Tuesdays because you're still in your practicum the other days. You're continuing with your research. And again, it's group research. You're working with your peers and with a faculty member on different parts of it. And then in your classwork, you're going into intimate partner violence, human sexuality, professional ethics and identity. I want to highlight this course because this also begins to prepare you for when you graduate. You'll need to take a law and ethics exam of one of the 2 exams required for licensure. And this begins to prepare you for that exam. Okay, so now we're into if you're considering the 3-year program. I won't take time going into each of the individual courses. So you're taking the same coursework. You just get to look at here how that they're spread out and what days you would be attending. And again, all this information in detail is on our website. You can see the schedule of classes on our program website. So the 1st year, 1st semester, you're taking classes only on Tuesday and Wednesday instead of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The 2nd semester, you only come on Tuesdays. And then the 2nd year, you're only on Thursdays. So the classes are just spread out a little bit. The other thing I want to mention about our program is that we are a cohort program, which means the group of students that you begin with, you are in classes only with them all the time. So our classes are set that you have to take. So everyone's taking the same classes at the same time. If you're in the 3-year program, you typically may start with one cohort, but you will complete with a different cohort, a different group of students, just in case that might matter to you. I'm gonna pause again just for a moment now that we've gone through courses to see if there's any questions in that area that are burning questions before I go into our clinic research, and then I'm going to talk about admissions. Are we good?
There is one question. I'm not sure do you want me to just read it?
That's fine, yeah.
Okay, so it says, I have an unrelated undergrad degree in architecture, but want to get a master's degree that will help me get an art therapy licensure. Is this the right path for me? Will this path double up my classes? And is getting a master's in counseling another path at LMU I can consider?
Okay, I'm going to attempt to answer what I think you're asking, and if I don't answer it completely, ask me again during the question and answer portion of it. So, and I'm going to go into this with admissions too, but I can still answer it here. So to apply for the program, our program in art therapy, you do not already have to have a related bachelor's degree in psychology, counseling, or art. You do need to have a bachelor's degree. So in architecture would just be fine. from an accredited college or university is what's required. And that's also like a university requirement to be admitted into a graduate program, to you have completed or will be completing a bachelor's degree. What the degree is in, we're not as concerned with. There are prerequisites that you'll see, and I'm going to go over in psychology and art, that are required as part of the application process. So that's what you'll need to do. You don't need to get another master's degree in counseling. And again, if that's not what you're asking, we can clarify that later, to be a part of this program, because in this program, you'll be taking the courses for a marriage and family therapy degree and also for art therapy registration. And I say registration because in California, it can get a little confusing. In California, we don't have an art therapy license, but you can be registered as an art therapist, is the only reason why I'm making that distinction. Okay. Hopefully I answered that, but again, I can go back to that, because I think that'll be an important question for everyone. So here, again, just going back to our clinic, which is a central part of our program. It's where a lot of our students get their initial field experience, is through the clinic. And we do a lot of different work through the clinic as well. For example, one of our longstanding programs is at Thomas Riley High School, where we do an art therapy program for pregnant and parenting teens and provide counseling to their students. We've had a program for a while now at Cedars Hospital in Los Angeles, where we're working with cancer survivors, or those who have surviving cancer. And we also have a relatively new program within the university with LMU's law school, working with marital conflict. So there's different programs in different places that we're working through the clinic as well. And then going back to research and scholarship, for those of you who have an interest in that, we usually have visiting scholars coming in who are national or from abroad, coming in to visit and speak with our students and also with our alumni. As I mentioned before, there are faculty talks that are scheduled throughout the semester. One that's happening this week is about pathways to doctoral programs. And then we're also going to have someone talk about our collaboration with the law school as well in one of those faculty talks. Then we have the Art Therapy Alumni Research Collective. And I want to highlight that as well, because another thing that sets us apart as a program is our strong alumni connection. So once you graduate, you're still connected. We still try to do our best to provide resources to our alumni and stay connected with them. And so those who want to continue the research beyond being a student at LMU, this is one way to be supported in doing that research or learning how to do research. Then we have our journal, as I mentioned before, that we publish, and also our annual research symposium that brings in scholars from all over to our university as well. And the one that's coming up soon is in May 25th. All right, admissions requirements. And once again, this is on our page, all of these things in detail. You will have all this information. So as I mentioned earlier, what you have your bachelor's degree in, it doesn't matter as much for us. And the reason for that is a lot of people come to art therapy at different stages in their lives and from different careers. We all find our own paths here, which is what makes it lovely and a wonderful profession to be a part of as well. So it may not be in a related study, but what is essential is that you have these particular prerequisites completed. And one is a minimum of 18 semester hour credits or 27 quarter credits that your university provided quarter units in studio art. And the reason for this is that you're going to be using different media and materials. You don't have to have like extensive experience in all of them, but we want to know you have some proficiency and some comfort in using art materials and in using them in different ways. So this requirement lets us know that you're ready to do that, because we're not teaching you how to use these materials in the course. We may teach you how to use them for specific purposes, but not teaching skills and how to use different media. So this will prepare you for that. And sometimes you may be working on this even beyond the application deadline if you're in the middle, depending on when you started to apply. So these you can start working on now and getting them complete. And then we also have prerequisites in psychology. So there's a minimum of 12 semester hours or 18 quarter hours in psychology. 2 of those courses, one has to be in developmental psychology, and that means it could be called child psychology, adolescent psychology, or lifespan psychology. Any one of those would fit for the developmental psychology requirement. And the other one is in abnormal psychology. Now, for the psychology courses, they must be from an accredited college or university. You must have taken the course within the past 5 years and for a letter grade. So, and you can show evidence for all of this with transcripts that you submit. And the reason why we say within the past 5 years is for things as in psychology profession change really quickly. And we want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date information as a foundation when you're entering the program. Okay, so other than the prerequisites, like we mentioned there, bachelor's degree, the GRE, so testing. Testing for our program is absolutely optional. It's recommended for those who feel like the other parts of the application are not a strong reflection of their ability to do graduate level work. Like, for example, during our undergrads, maybe there was something else going on. Our GPA is not that great, and we don't feel like that's really reflective of the work we are able to do just because we were going through a difficult time. In that case, you may want to take the GRE as an additional component to your application, but it's not required, it is optional. We're asking you for 2 letters of recommendation. You want to try to find those who kind of can speak to your commitment to this program, to this work, or shows any relevant professional or volunteer experience. It's the most helpful in terms of letters of recommendation. You'll have an opportunity to write an autobiography. It's about 10 to 12 pages, and it's sharing your personal experiences and understanding how you talk about it through a psychological lens as well, and your interest in the program. Then we have a portfolio and statement. So this is your art portfolio. This is where we're asking you to submit up to 10 images showing a variety of media. So you're showing your artwork. But with that, you're also selecting one of those images and writing a statement about it. What's your emotional, personal connection to your work, and how do you talk about that? And then in all of these pieces, actually you submit all of them online. So all of this is part of an online application. And you can start the application whenever you want to and add on it to it over time. So you don't have to have all the components done at once. You can open the application online and then start submitting things as they are getting completed. The other thing is the online interview. So when you open up the application, they'll give you a set of questions, and you're going to record yourself answering those questions. And some of them have to do with like you talking about what do you know about marriage and family therapy, art therapy, your personal experience, and things like that. And then the prerequisite checklist. So that's just checking off the different prerequisites for studio art and for psychology we mentioned earlier. So after you've done and submitted all of that, there's 2 things. One, as I mentioned before, sometimes, I mean, I don't encourage you not to have things completed, but sometimes you may be in the middle of completing some of the prerequisites by the time the deadline comes for the submission of your application deadline comes along. And there are some people who are in the middle of completing their BA as well by the time they're applying for the program. In either case, we cannot review an application. Let me go back, actually. We cannot review, cannot review an application that does not have the letters of recommendation, your autobiography, your portfolio, and your online interview. Those are the things that are essential for us to even begin reviewing your application. You may be submitting transcripts for some of the prerequisites after that time, but these other pieces need to be submitted by the deadline. Go right here. Okay, I'm gonna go back, sorry. So how the process goes, so we review all the pieces of information on your applications that you submit. And then from that process, not everyone makes it to the second phase, but if you make it to the second phase of the process, you will be invited to a group interview. So that'll be an opportunity, and that happens around February 8th or 9th, just if you want to try to project that. So applications are due for fall 2025. Applications are due in November of this year, so November 25th, 2024. If you are invited to participate in the group interview, that will happen February 8th and 9th, and that's a Saturday and Sunday. And part of the group interview is to see how you interact with others as well, and how do you talk about and process your art with others. Because that's a lot of the work that we do in the classroom. All right, I'm gonna pause there. We're wrapping up near the end of the presentation part and getting to questions soon, but I also know it's digesting a lot of information, so I want to pause again before I go into the financial aid piece, in case there's anything I should answer.
I would say the main question, who would be the point of contact to see if they are meeting their prerequisites, or if like the courses kind of transfer over?
Oh, excellent question. So actually that would go to me as the program coordinator. So if you have a question about whether a course qualifies or will be accepted, you would email me, and most of the time I'll ask you for the course number and description to send that as well, and I can let you know. So that would be the point of contact for that. And anything else in that yet?
Other than that, I think we're okay.
Okay.
For now.
Okay, good. So now the money piece, that's important too, right? So this is a 60-unit program. So if I didn't say that before, the entire program to complete it is 60 units. The tuition as of right now is $1,536 per unit is the current tuition rate. You would apply for financial aid through the financial aid office. So it's not too soon to even reach out and start asking questions about what that process looks like. And then I just listed a few things here of some grants, scholarships, and other means of funding that also are available to you. LMU does have some graduate grants. There's also some scholarships. So the CAMP, that's the California Marital and Family Therapy Association, and ADA is the American Art Therapy Association. These professional organizations also offer scholarships to students who have already enrolled in the program. So also once you started the program, there may be other funds that are available to you or that you can apply for. And I have to say, a lot of us students in our program have been awarded these scholarships. So these are scholarships outside the university. They're from other professional organizations and elsewhere. A lot of our students have been granted and qualified for these scholarships. And then there's different department awards, like we have the Helen Landgarten Scholarship, the Alumni Art Therapy Scholarship, the Elizabeth Taylor Scholarship, the Maxine Borowski Dream Scholarship, for students who are entering the program in midlife. Well, let me go back. Elizabeth Taylor Scholarship is specifically for work. Oh, sorry, let me go back. HIV and AIDS. Then we also have the Helen Landgarten Art Therapy Clinic scholarships. And we have, in addition, the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Anti-Racism Art Therapy Scholarship to support graduate students who are experiencing hardship due to socioeconomic status or cultural oppression. So we have those awards as well. And some of these scholarships and awards you can find out beforehand, and some of them you get that information once you've been admitted, because they're for students who are admitted only. So, and then here's some contact information also for financial aid. We have Jennifer Bond, who is the Assistant Director of Graduate Program, Student Scholarship, and Financial Aid. And we also have Maria Flores, who's a Scholarship Manager. And I do believe that there was a program last night or afternoon about financial aid and other resources as well. And then other thing I would like to mention before we complete, well, at least with this portion too, is about campus support. So one thing about being a part of LMU's campus is that our students have access to a lot of different resources through the university. I think a lot of the departments and programs on campus really strive and attempt to be accessible and are very student focused. And so we have different resources here for academics. We have different resources and connections and liaisons through our library. We have the Graduate Student Association, Career Development Services. And then within our Student Affairs Division, there's also different resources as well. Let me just get out of that. Okay, here. So the Asian Pacific Student Services, Chicano Latino Student Services, Ethnic and Intercultural Services, Jewish Student Life, Intercultural Affairs, International Students and Scholars, LGBTSS, Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender Student Services, and Office of Black Student Services. And this is just to name a few. There's also wellness programs offered throughout the semester as well, and different things that our students can participate in should they choose. And then here are our professional organizations. Some of these you may have been in contact with through your search for an art therapy program. And as I mentioned these earlier, a lot of our faculty are also have leadership positions and participate in these associations as well. And that's the American Art Therapy Association. We have our local Southern California Art Therapy Association, and then the California Association of Marital and Family Therapy. And then if you're thinking about what kind of work do we do when we graduate, or what's the potential for being employed? So we do a survey of our graduates about 6 months after they graduate. And in the last poll, that was last semester in fall of 2023, of those who responded, 86% of them were employed, and the other 14% that were not said they were currently not looking for work. And that's for a variety of reasons. Sometimes people choose to take a break, or they're doing other things or have other responsibilities. And so they don't look for employment right away, but that's by choice. And then I think we're wrapping up now. Is just for more information, if you haven't found us there yet, is our social media. We're located on Facebook. We have a Facebook page. On Instagram, you can check our Instagram page. And I actually realize I don't have it listed here, but our Helen B. Langarten Clinic also has their own Instagram page if you want to find that. And then I just have the email there that I've been referencing for where you can find our program info through the Communication and Fine Arts School. Our website is there. Okay, we did it just in an hour. Let me get you. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute so I can see your faces, and I'll take any questions in a moment. Okay. If you need to stretch.
Yeah, really quick, Kenya. I do have one question I wasn't able to answer. There was something about the cost per unit.
Yes. The number?
It was 1,536.
That's correct. The current tuition as of this date is $1,536 per unit, and our program is a 60-unit program. So let's see. I can take
I'm going back through to see.
Okay, yeah. I'll go through maybe some questions that you're pulling first, and then we can raise hands afterwards. But let me get those who maybe put things in the chat if you're seeing kind of themes.
Let's see. Oh, I know there was some talk about what kind of artwork to include in the application.
Yes, great question. It can be any type of art that's just kind of showing not necessarily just your skills with that material, but just like if that's an expression of you, because we really want to know, how do you relate to your art? How do you talk about your art? So it could be painting, ceramics, photography, some digital art. What I do say that comes up sometimes is you all in drawings and things like that. We do want to see some more of the classic drawing, painting, sculpture, clay, things like that. You do want to show some of those things because those are the things that we are more accessible to us as therapists that we get to use with clients. Other digital media, yes, there's like a value to that, and we are using it in the whole profession of art therapy, but in your practice and when you're training, you're not going to have the equipment to use that very often. So you don't want a whole portfolio of just that type of art. You want to show a variety of things in a variety of different studio art as well. And you also want to choose pieces, and they could be new pieces that you're just making. They could be old pieces. Again, what's going to be important too is we're asking you to choose one of those pieces and write a statement and talk about the development of it. What's the emotional content or relatedness to it? We want to know, how do you talk about and process art, especially your own art. Another.
Yeah, there's a couple in the chat. I'm not sure if you are able to view that as well.
Oh, let's see. Is it easier if I go through? Let's see.
Do you happen to know the percent of students who receive scholarships, financial aid, and the average amount that's covered most of the time?
That I wouldn't be able to answer. Financial aid, like loans and work study and things like that, doesn't go through our department, so I would know that as well. And I actually don't have the amount. I mean, there's a couple of different scholarships and stipends that could be $2,000 or $3,000 each or so, or it could be more. But I don't have that exact amount right now. Let's see. Going through the chat.
I think just some concerns about the prerequisites within the 5 years.
Oh, yes. Is there a specific question about that?
Those are in the recent messages that just came up.
Okay. Oh, I see one here about how many students are accepted. That's another good question. So we are a small program. We accept between 20 and 25 students for each year. We have one enrollment date. So we only have one application period in November. So we don't have rolling enrollments, and we accept between 20 and 25 students. And that's really just based on how many spaces we have. Like how many previous students are in a 3-year track and they're staying may limit the amount of spots that we have, but it's between 20 and 25 is our class size, but closer to the 20. Will the architecture degree cover the multidisciplinary creativity? Can it include? Oh, that one I may have to answer more specifically about if you're referring to the portfolio and some of the things with the architecture. It definitely can be a piece or two in there, and definitely you can include old work. It doesn't have to be all new work. You just want to curate for yourself what pieces in your portfolio think you feel like are reflective of materials you have experience with, but also some things that may have personal significance for you in some way or another. And that you'd be able to talk about in that way if asked. My last accredited art class was from 20. Oh, okay. So prerequisites for the art and for the psychology. Let me clear that up. So it's only for the psychology prerequisites that have to be within the last 5 years. It's only for psychology. I want to repeat that. And again, that's just because there's so many changes in the field, and it's super important that you're not coming in with old information. In that particular area. As far as your art classes, there's no year limit. So if you took classes like 20 years ago in art and you still have the transcripts and things for them, submit them. It's only the psychology classes that have a 5-year, we want you to have taken them within the last 5 years. So some of you may have a psychology degree from like 10, 15 years ago. The degree is fine, but as far as the classes, like it'll count as you having a BA, but the prerequisites, you may need to retake some of those classes to meet the psychology requirements, if that makes sense. And I can say that another way if that's confusing. Okay, I think I answered that. Yes, because there were other people asking about if the art classes that they had taken them more than 5 years ago, would that count? Yes, the art classes count. Is only the psychology classes that have to be within the last 5 years. Okay, I can take hands now if that's helpful. So maybe it's not in the chat, but you want to make sure your question gets answered if I'm not answering it already. Yes, Kathleen. Oh, wait, I don't hear you, Kathleen. Not yet. Yeah, I'm not sure. You might have to write it in the chat. For some reason, Kathleen, we can't hear you. Ooh, there's new messages. Do you have a list of online? Oh, do you have a list of online local community colleges that you recommend for the prerequisite? No. And I'm actually glad that you asked that question. Kathleen, I know that wasn't your question. I can't hear you. So I was going back to the chat. I apologize. As soon as you get the sound, I'll go back to you, Kathleen, but for some reason I can't hear you at the moment. So I'm just answering questions in the chat for a minute. Okay, so yes, so your psychology and art classes can come from a community college, or as long as it's accredited, you can go to your local community college or any college or university for those prerequisites. You just want to make sure it's an accredited institution in order to complete those requirements. Let's see. So psychology course taken that fun. All right, so how long the bachelor's degree was received to get the master? No. It doesn't matter when you completed your bachelor's degree. It's just the psychology prerequisites are the ones that have to be recent. So even if you've taken those before as part of your bachelor's degree, you may have to take some of those classes again for us, but your bachelor's degree can be complete whenever it was completed. Doesn't have to be recent at all. I don't think I'm seeing some of the recent chat.
Yeah, there was a question, should I apply after I complete the psych courses, or can I register to take them and apply for this program at the same time?
Oh, wait, sorry. Say that one more time.
Should I apply after I complete the psych courses, or can I register to take them and apply for this program at the same time?
If you know you're going to apply for fall 2025, meaning you're trying to meet the November deadline, I wouldn't wait to take those classes. Yes, we do accept applications where people are still working on their prerequisites. I just want to be, and that's okay. Like, you would just have to let us know what your plan is. Like, I'm currently enrolled in this class, or I plan to be enrolled in that class, and they will be completed if I'm accepted before classes start. So you would have to give us all that information. That happens. And it happens because sometimes we don't know about this program until 3 months before. And so you need time to be able to complete those requirements and still submit an application. You can do that. I just want to caution that I'm not putting the message out there to not do those prerequisites until after you submit your application. That's not the plan. You know, if it just happens to work out that you're still working on prerequisites when the application is due, you just need to let us know that and explain what is your plan. Like, this is the course I'm going to take, this is where I'm going to take it, and so I will be completed with all the prerequisites by this date. You know, makes a stronger application. That's okay, and it happens. I just want to make sure that I'm not communicating to not bother or, working on those things. And not have anything done until after you submit your application. You don't want that to be the plan. You don't want to have to, if you haven't done any of the prerequisites, you should not be starting them after you submit your application. That's usually for those who are in the middle of completing them and have a plan to complete them. They're just not finished yet. And you will just submit your transcripts when you're done. Let's see. Kathleen rejoined us. Kathleen, I just want to check, do you have sound again? Are you able to ask your question? Okay, maybe not. Okay, I see, just have your hand raised when you like us to go back to you. Is there an issue if they have a combination of quarter and semester hours for psychology courses? No, we will just have to calculate all of those to make sure that you've met the requirements. So that's something you would put together and email me so we can figure out, make sure that you've actually met the requirements that we're asking. So we'll just have to do some math around that. What's the average number of applicants per year? It changes from year to year. I'm not even sure I want to throw a number out there, to be honest, at the moment, but I could get back to you with that number. Maybe
I do have one question that's a bit more specific. It says, so a psychology course taken in the fall of 2018 would need to be retaken for an application towards fall of 2024, but I could still apply in November if enrolled in this course at the time of the application deadline.
Okay, let me get all the pieces of that. So I'm guessing what they mean is that they're just missing the 5-year mark. They might be short. That's something on a case-by-case basis I would have you email me about. For those that are just on the line at that time, it's okay to email me first before retaking a course if you're not sure. So, any other hands? Oh wait, I saw one coming. Oh wait, Alyssa.
Hi, I'm gonna read mine out. I had it written down somewhere.
Oh, perfect. Neil, please. Oh, and now I see it.
Okay.
Do you want to read it or do you want me to read it?
Um, I could read it.
Okay.
Basically, I guess there's like a sub question with that, like for like university projects, like
Mhm.
if it wasn't just a specific piece I made and more of like a community aid kind of effort that did art and was just a whole project with research and then it was other people's art that I was kind of facilitating through kind of art therapy based workshops. Would that be more like portfolio or a different section of the application?
That's something you'd probably would talk about in your autobiography. Um,
Okay.
yeah, that's something you put in your autobiography, depending on if you have a piece of art that was a part of that or something. And even installation pieces and things like that, by the way, would be included.
Installation pieces.
Yeah, yeah, installation could be included. But so if you have some part of that, like you don't want to include necessarily somebody else's art, but if it was a collaborative art piece
Oh
or
yeah,
yeah,
it was in that sense, and it was like an installation kind of piece where I was just providing the prompts and everything, the guidelines, and it was the what's it called when I was working. And also this, in case it takes too long, is there anyone I could contact for more specific, like specific to my application questions?
yes. So yeah, those kind of questions you would direct to me. And I don't know if we haven't done yet. Marissa, do you still have the MFTH department email? If not, I can write it in the chat too. So we'll put that email in the chat. That will go to me.
Okay.
It's MFTH department at lmu.edu. Or if you find me online, my name, and you can contact me that way. But yes, those questions would go to me. And we can talk separately about that. But you can make a case for that for being one of your pieces of art. Sounds like it would be fine. It just wouldn't be the whole portfolio of that. But if you have one or two that are
Yeah.
something like that, and that goes for anyone, then yes, include it.
I'm a
And we
little
definitely want to hear about it in your autobiography, and there might be an opportunity in your video too to speak to it.
okay.
But yeah, definitely you can make it a part of your application in more than one place.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh wait, did you have a second question? I'm sorry.
It was a little bit about just like for the portfolio also, this like should there be a ratio of like because I know you talk about like showing a variety of like skills, different mediums,
Mhm.
personal significance, and how much should we include that have like maybe relevance to like maybe our future practices or maybe a field of interest in art therapy that we want to do, if at all?
Um, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, but it might all be relevant. But I'll say just email me separately
Okay.
and tell you just because I don't want to give you misinformation or confuse anyone about that too.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And Kathleen, I saw you had a note up. I think you were trying to have us read. Wasn't able to read it though.
I think it's in regards to the cost. I think there was some misinformation that it was 200,000. But looking at the breakdown of the units, it's a lot
Oh, just says
less
in chat. Okay.
in chat. Yeah.
Let me find it again. I heard that the total to graduate from LMU was 200. Yeah, all I can tell you is that the cost per unit for tuition is $1,536 as of today. That's if you look on the website, that's the tuition as of today per unit. And our particular program is a 60-unit program. So you can do the, I haven't done the calculations for all that. But that's where that number comes from. And then I saw there were 6
And
more
then,
things. Yeah.
yeah, someone was asking kind of about my experience with the workload. So it is quite a lot. I'm doing the graduate assistantship, so it is about 10 hours. And with that, I will say I am pretty loaded on my work. You know, we also, outside of class, do have quite a bit of homework. There are quite a few people in my cohort, though, that do work part-time and are able to manage it. They're working it anywhere from like 10 to 20 hours. And then usually for people that are working part-time, they prefer more the 3-year track.
Thank you for answering that. And JP, I see your hand. We get to you for a minute. And I just want to add to that too. The program as is not really set up to maintain full time. Even in the 3-year program, you'll find it very difficult. And that's why I recommend you go back to our website and really look at the schedule of classes and how many hours you're going to be required to put into practicum. It's necessary for people who need to work to do this and need to work a certain amount of hours or like have other responsibilities. It happens and they make it work. It's not an easy thing to do. So I just want to be transparent about that. It's really hard to maintain work outside of the program and many hours and keep this course load and do the practicum. Because as I mentioned before, your first semester, you have 8 classes. So it's attending the classes, but it's also the work for the classes. And they're doing it, you know, and getting a lot out of it. But it takes something to be organized around that and just realize that's what you're committing to for those 2 years or for those 3 years. That's what it looks like. JP, you want to ask your question since I see your hand?
Yes. I just had a question about being able to kind of view a little bit more about the program. So like would be able to come in and see a classroom in progress or clinical work or anything. Is that possible at all? Just get more.
Yeah, no. The videos that are provided, the links to that maybe will give you a little bit more insight into the practicums. And it comes from the point of view of the students in the practicum. So maybe that'll help a little bit. We aren't able to have any visitors onto campus in the classrooms and definitely not at the practicums for privacy reasons. I mean, we're fortunate we have Marissa here, but we typically won't even or can't even connect you with the student like an ambassador to ask questions to protect their own privacy that they're in the program. And for our clients or community members that we work with is to protect their privacy as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. One thing I will say you can do, you can't through university, but there might be through the professional organizations, like I said, through SoCal ADA, where there might be people who are graduates of the program who might be able to have time to talk to you more about their experience. It might not be the same experience as the program it looks right now, but they would have more freedom to connect you with someone to talk to you than we're allowed to do at the university. If that makes sense.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Do we have option to extend the 3-year program? No, that's not an option at the moment. Like I said, we're a cohort program, which means all our classes are offered only at specific times of the year. And so you kind of have to follow follow the course that way. That's something that's a little different from our program than maybe somewhere else or a different type of program. Whatever's offered the first, fall, those are the only classes available fall. Like you can't take them again later in the spring or during the summer because of our cohort model. And they follow, and you can't take them out of order either. I saw there was another question. How can we get more involved now when we are already certain that LMU in this program is the choice? Involved in like the field, or you mean directly with LMU? Maria, if you could clarify. Or maybe I can answer that either way. You can, of course, like find there's other, maybe it's not providing therapy, but there's lots of other volunteer opportunities around that are art-based, that, you know, like art-based and social emotional learning or therapeutic arts or community work that you can get involved in right now as you're preparing to apply for the program. But if you were asking about something more specific, Maria, you can just let me know. There's no actually I would, so about on-campus housing. Oh no, you answered that, sorry. Thank you. Oh, okay, Kathleen, I'll review the video and get whatever. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Kathleen. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. And again, you can always reach out to me by email. Do the letters of recommendation need to be from mental health service professionals? No, not necessarily, but you want to be able to find someone who can speak to how you would fit into this type of program, or why you would be a good candidate. But it doesn't have to be from a mental health professional. No, not at all. Okay, good. I see Marissa answered that too, gave an example for herself. Is there
Yeah, I
any-
just see some questions about how they can get involved to learn a little bit more of the program. If there's any events that we have going on coming up that maybe they can get a little bit more insight.
Yes, there may be a faculty showcase coming up. I didn't want to provide the information here because we're still working out those details. I can contact you through, actually, if you go through the graduate division page, and you may have already done this, where there's an interest form you can fill out. That way I can get in touch with you again and send invitations to other events that we have, or if you want to email me and share your email, I'll make sure you get added to that inquirers list so that we can send information out to you in the future about events that you can join. And there'll be another program like this in the fall, of course, before the November deadline. And you can always check our website. Please check out our social media. That's where you can find out some of the things that we're doing and we're up to, and come join us and visit. All right. I can take just a few more questions in the next 5 minutes, since I'm actually not remembering if we're finishing an hour and a half or 2 hours, but we will start to wrap up actually now, so we can move on with our evening. And again, you can email me directly because I'm sure you may have very specific questions about your particular circumstances, and I'm more than happy to answer those and walk you through the process. And that might be a little bit easier one-on-one. But there are any remaining questions at the moment for us as we're a whole group? All right, I hope that means that we were able to answer most of your questions somewhat adequately.
One more, sorry, I just want to,
Yes.
before, so in regards to housing, students don't typically live on campus. They don't offer any housing for graduates, but they do have housing for graduates that's about 5 minutes from campus at Playa del Oro. As students do tend to live generally in the area, but I do know they commute up to about 2 hours.
Yes, I have nothing to add to that. That is correct.
Just a heads up, there is a lot of traffic in this area as well because we are close to LAX. So just keep that in mind when planning your commutes.
Mhm. All right. I think we're going to call it. Again, thank you so much for your time and spending your time with us this evening to learn about our program, art therapy. We wish you the best wherever you end up, or wherever this journey takes you, or wherever you are in the process. We're excited for you. And if there's anything we can answer and assist you with, please do not hesitate to reach out. We will do our best. I want to see a thank you to Marissa out there. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Bye, everyone. Take care.